This episode is sponsored by the petition to rename extra large to extra extra medium.
This episode is also sponsored by The Body Pillow. Even single people deserve to cuddle 365. This is Sorry for the Wait. Here we go. Fired up, ready to go. Welcome to the show, folks. This is Sorry for the Wait, a weight loss podcast for regular people, by regular people. I am your host, Seth.
And I am your host, Strawberry.
Extra, extra medium.
Well, okay, I was thinking about this, right? All right, get your laughs out.
I know, okay.
So, but like, in all seriousness, I was thinking about this, right? Isn't it kind of fucked up that like, probably like the majority of at least like people we know,
right,
just in general, fit into large and extra large. You would think that like medium would be like the average size.
Right, you would think that medium, median, like middle,
right, and,
average.
And the most fucked up part about it is just like, okay, here I am, a normal sized person, you're going to call them large. Okay, whatever. But then it's like you're a little bit thicker and now you're suddenly like extra large.
Yeah, exactly.
Extra large.
All
like,
the work that goes into like becoming smaller or like getting our body mass down only to be just slotted right into still extra large.
Especially because it just, to me, it reeks of laziness. It's like they came up with like, okay, small, medium, large. Ah, fuck it, I'm tired. Let's just throw extras on there.
Or do you think somebody in the meeting was like, what about gargantuan? And everyone's like, shut up. Like, what? Stop it.
I mean, look, there would be some nice ways to phrase it that aren't necessarily offensive. Like, maybe extra large could be just like jolly.
Or husky.
I like that,
Husky's
actually.
a good one because that's almost like that, that goes hard. But I guess.
Or like more to love.
Yeah, I like that. A little
What size are you? I'm a size more to love.
Yeah, have you ever seen that on dating sites?
I have.
Like more, a little more to love or extra padding.
That's just vulgar.
As if I'm a throw pillow. Like, yeah, this one's got extra padding. It's on sale. Buy low, sell high. That's I think we should probably start. Maybe that's when we start doing merch, maybe that's just how we'll size it completely different.
Extra medium.
Yeah, and nobody will know what to buy. It's going to be a terrible business decision.
Just subtract 1 from the numbers of extras in medium and you'll get your large size.
I do like that, but we're going to switch it up a little bit. Instead of just getting into our weeks, we want to revisit last episode's dinner debate.
Yes, absolutely.
I think that this was one that really just kind of put us on our asses a little bit. We left that worse than when we felt going in, honestly.
And so just to recap for our thousands of new viewers or listeners that we get every week.
Yes, thousands?
Millions.
Viewers. Yeah, I know. Viewers always trips you up.
But for anyone who didn't listen to our last episode, the dinner debate was, is pot pie just soup with a roof?
That was I must say, the $1 million question. And we called on our listeners to really kind of reach out to us and just give us their thoughts. And we got some great responses. A lot of them were just one-liners because we did ask for justification. I got a Facebook comment from an old counselor of mine, Feingold. Thank you for putting that down. He asked about a roux based like with like the water and flour to create that thick roux, because we really just did boil this down.
I don't even really know what roux is.
Yeah,
but I just took him at his word.
But we kind of looked at this as just, is it a soup? Is that the inside? Is it liquid? Is it gravy? We had one listener, Sarah. Sarah wrote, this one isn't even really just constructive. She just wrote, I'm just disappointed you even entertained this question. She said, it's not soup with a roof. I'm disappointed, and I wish you hadn't have even touched this. And you know what? I'm disappointed in us too.
Honestly, though, I feel like dinner debate does that to us, because I'm very disappointed from the very get when our first dinner debate was like, is cheesecake really a pie? And that, like, it bothered me to broach that subject.
True.
So I kind of view this entire topic as we're just taking these hard-hitting
answering
questions.
The unanswerable almost, you know what I mean? But we did get a really well thought out constructive response from Katie in Rhode Island. And so Katie, thank you. Really appreciate you. Katie wrote, this one's going to even screw us up even more. Katie says, I am going to say that chicken pot pie is a stew.
Which, now that you mention, now that like Katie threw stew into the mix, I'm so glad you did that, Katie, because that's definitely better than soup with a roof.
Right. And so from the Goog, that's what you wrote. From the Goog, the main difference between soup and stew is found in the primary ingredient, liquid. Soup can either be completely liquefied or it can include other elements, parentheses, such as meat, fish, or vegetables that are fully submerged in broth, water, or stock. Stew, however, is much heartier and thicker than soup. That's well
down
put.
With that.
Yeah, you know what? I'm cool calling this a stew, but we did get a wild card.
Oh, no.
We always get one that just completely, again, just nukes the entire thing. Christian from out in the UK. So, Christian, thank you kindly. Love you and miss you. Christian says, pot pie is just edible Tupperware.
Ooh.
Oh, no. It kind of is.
No, I would say
it's just this massive
it's a container for sure, but Tupperware is like reusable.
Edible Tupperware. Hey, a pot pie is reusable if you have the right attitude, I think, you know?
I think that's a bad attitude.
It's a terrible attitude. So are we any closer to really putting a definitive answer on this? No. Is this something that's going to haunt us for years to come on this podcast? Yes.
Do you know what I do think is kind of interesting? Soup with a roof just has such a great cadence to it. Like it rhymes.
It almost deserves to stay just from that.
But hey, you know what? Stew with a roof also kind of has that rhyme scheme too.
If we ever put out an impromptu mixtape, you know, which I think is probably, I think when it comes to podcasting, it goes like from podcasting to like we get too big of heads and massive egos. And then we just go, you know what? We can rap. Let's put out a mixtape. And maybe that's the name of our mixtape.
Stew with a roof.
Soup with a roof. Stew with a roof. I don't know.
Stew with a roop.
Stew with a roop. Yeah, there it is. That's it. But you know what? I think that was worth covering into instead of getting into our weeks because, like, come on.
Well, actually, there was one important thing that did happen in our week.
What was the most important thing?
Well, we both ate 3 too many cookies.
Yes, we did. Whoever the listener out there that sent us cookies from Gooey on the inside through Goldbelly, please identify yourself because we're broken.
My favorite part about it, right, is that I come home and I see a bunch of cookies just sitting on the counter, and Seth says to me, he's like, "Hey, one of our listeners just sent us these," and I'm like, "Oh, cool." And so I look at one, I grab one, and I immediately like unwrap it and eat it.
Right.
And I'm about halfway through eating it when Seth says to me, "Did you read the instructions?" And then I look, and there was like a little instruction card there that said you should bake this in the oven for like these are half baked.
Yeah, they came par baked is how they said it.
Put that back in the oven for like 7 to 10 minutes and then it'll be nice and gooey. And I didn't have the patience to read. I saw a cookie, I ate it.
Yeah, still good.
And then you turned around and you were like, "Yeah, don't worry about it. I did the same thing."
Yeah. Honestly, we did kind of dive right into those, and you know, we thought we were going to parcel them out a lot quicker, but you know what? They were worth it.
Yeah.
They were worth it. And so
treat yourself.
Whoever the listener is that sent us those, thank you. I mean, we really, really appreciate that. It's got to be someone that we know intimately that is just refusing to cop to it because I just don't.
They have our address.
Yeah, they have our address. So either way, you know, maybe it's the first of many things. Don't send us too many things we can eat. Please do not kill us.
All right. Now be honest, Seth. Did you, for half a second when you saw this surprise Goldbelly package, think that you, in your sleepy stupor, accidentally ordered?
Oh, 100%. Oh, I swear to God, I thought that I just kind of like woke up in the middle of the night and just subconsciously ordered cookies. But then I was like, you know what? If I was to do that, more shit would be here. Like, like it would be like 3 cheesecakes from delis in Brooklyn or something like whatever, something like that. But either way, thank you kindly. And you know what?
Thank you.
Let's just jump right into it.
It's the Craven of the Week.
Craven of the Week, folks. We're back with another one. And you know what? We're just going to dive right into it. What do you got?
Well, Seth, I'm glad you started me off with dive because we're going to take a little bit of a dive into my private beach.
Oh, God. Here we go. Ooh, Strawberry Beach.
I wouldn't call it Strawberry Beach. I would call it Coffee Beach.
Coffee Beach.
Because this is honestly a place where I would love to go on a vacation just every day.
Yeah.
So let me take you on a journey, right? Close your eyes for a second.
Closing.
All right. So your eyes aren't closed.
I know. I closed them for like a good 3 count, but I'm not going to sit here the entire time with my eyes closed.
All right, fine. Your loss. Viewers, listeners,
we need to have a live counter of how many times you do that. All right, go.
All right, so you're walking down the beach, and under your feet, you're feeling the nice, warm sand, and you get out to the water, and what's that? You smell it. The smell of freshly ground coffee beans just wafting into your nose.
Wafting and washing.
I'm really just tongue-tied today. Anyway, the point is, the ocean is coffee.
Okay, so now are you going?
Wait, I'm not done.
Oh my God, Jesus.
Because we got nice, like thick, like boulders that like jut out into the ocean, so that you can walk down onto like this rock pier,
a jetty,
and those rocks are made out of pure coffee cake.
Ooh, coffee cake jetty.
Coffee cake jetty.
Okay.
And the sand that we walked on before, remember that?
Yes, I remember it.
Coffee grinds.
Coffee grinds. Okay.
And that's basically it.
So now we have to unpack it. So
yes.
I love the coffee cake jetty. Now, is this hot coffee?
I'm so glad you asked, Seth.
Is this iced coffee?
In the winter, it is hot coffee. And
Okay.
in the summer, it is iced coffee.
I like that. I do like that. Now, the coffee grinds, you know what? The coffee grinds is nice, too, for people who are looking for a nice like beach day / spa day, because people do that coffee scrub shit all the time.
And to me, it's really more of a smell thing, because the grinds have such a great smell before you make the coffee. Like, you just get that smell everywhere.
Now, are you like a coffee enthusiast in the sense of like different types of coffee, or is it just like, give me just straight coffee? Like, I know some people are like, well, Colombian coffee versus Brazilian coffee versus Mars coffee.
Well, I'll be honest here, is I can't quite tell the difference by taste.
Yeah, it's like a wine thing.
But I would be okay with it being like a section of Colombian, a section of like Brazilian, and kind of just like as you walk down the beach, maybe you take like a 3-mile walk.
Yeah.
And suddenly the aroma just shifts like ever so slightly.
Every mile marker, you get like a brand new smell. I do like that, but the idea of a coffee cake jetty really tickles my fancy. Something about a good coffee cake.
And since this is my fantasy and my private beach, I'll let you know this isn't just like black coffee out in the water.
Yeah,
like,
that's good.
I do have some like almond milk and Splenda mixed in there.
Is that your go-to is almond milk and Splenda?
Yeah. Sometimes now that Dunkin' has oat milk, sometimes I switch it up and I go oat milk.
Yeah, oat milk's always a good choice. I do like Coffee Beach. Now, are you charging admission for Coffee Beach, or is this like a free and open to the public?
Neither. This is mine.
This is...
Sorry, folks.
Yeah, so
I just had you close your eyes and imagine it just to never let you in.
You and Bezos with your private beaches that nobody can set foot on.
Look, here's my thing. First of all, I don't want anybody swimming in this.
It's true. It's like it's like the pools. It's like the chocolate pool.
If I want to drink this coffee, do I want other people's like body debris all over it? No, thank you.
I've never heard that. Body debris.
No, I don't want to taste that.
You know, the debris that falls off of humans every day.
You know, like your dead skin cells and like, I don't know, whatever else you got going on there, your oily skin.
I don't want to hang out with Matt this week. He's got too much body debris.
And let's be honest here. Like, I get it. If I were to put a no swimming allowed sign, like a lot of people would just wait until they're not being watched and then go for a swim. It's hard to resist. You know what?
It's very true.
I won't tempt you.
You know what? And hey, good on you
for
providing the outlet for people to not be tempted. But
I am generous.
I do like that. Can I give mine?
Please.
Can I come at you with this?
Come at me with it.
I've been really into like a lot of like medieval fantasy type stuff lately. Like I've been watching a lot of like D&D stuff, like Harmon Quest on Verve. I've been listening to the Adventure Zone a ton. So like I'm in this very like fantasy centric space right now in the shit that I'm listening to. And all I could think of was like wouldn't it be cool to have like your own medieval sword, like your own legendary sword? You know how
absolutely.
Like in Lord of the Rings, like there's something about like that
long claw,
right? Long claw in Thrones, like there's just something mythic and legendary about having your own sword. And so me personally, my sword is named Rella.
Rella.
Now, any guesses as to why my sword's name is Rella?
I mean, the first place my mind goes is like Cinderella, but that has nothing to do with anything. So I don't think
you're
so.
close though. So Rella is made in the terms of like cadence. Like Rella is made completely of mozzarella cheese.
Oh, duh.
So I was gonna say I thought you would have caught that quick. So Rella, right? I have like this whole just like kind of just lore for Rella, just with like a very, very like durable cracker crust, like a cheese and cracker sword almost.
Okay,
and
Rella there.
And Rella just sits on my back at all times, and then whenever like she comes out, she not only slays my enemies, but also she peels like a cheese stick. Like, and so like if I ever need to get Rella down to like dagger form, I'm just peeling off strings and chewing her down until she's dagger sized and then stab, you know, all my enemies, but of cheese.
All right. can I give you 2 quick questions here?
Yeah, go for it.
All right. So number 1, I'm picturing Rella, and I'm picturing like the hilt being the breaded part, and then the blade itself is just the cheese.
Yes.
Okay. Then number 2, you peel off the mozzarella, make it a dagger. Is there some sort of magical, mystical spell on this legendary sword that like replenishes it back to sword size when you're done?
I have to imagine that like either in part of the lore is like the regeneration of it. Like if I need her to be back to full sword, but you know what? It would almost be cooler to just kind of have like a Gandalf in my entourage. You know, like in my medieval entourage.
Have your own little wizard.
Yeah, you know, they'd be like, hey, can you take care of this shit?
I don't know, that makes you vulnerable though, because what if like your Gandalf ends up getting kidnapped or something on
or gets
road during your quest,
or down to the Shadow Realm? Yeah, you know, that's tough. I might have to take that to the boys in R&D and figure that out. But there's just
R&D or D&D?
Like D&D probably, but I really do think that there is utility here of having not only just like my own medieval mythic sword, but having it made of mozzarella cheese, because like you just whittle it down and people are like, is it really sharp enough? Yeah. Have you ever heard of sharp kinds of cheeses? Idiots. That's how you destroy your enemies, with sharp cheese. And this is like, I don't know why I'm on such a kick like this, but it is almost time. Whenever it gets to like really cold weather, I just want to sit down and watch all the Lord of the Rings extended editions.
Well, you know what season it is. Winter is coming.
Winter is coming. I know it's freezing, but hey, we also have a voicemail. It's been a bit since we've gotten a voicemail.
I love voicemails.
I know. So we got a voicemail, and you know what? We're going to take a listen right now.
Hey, Seth. Hi, Strawberry. It's me, Abby from Warwick, Rhode Island again, and I'm back with another craving of the week. So here's my vision. It's Saturday night, pre-COVID, out with the girls. We're feeling lucky, and we want to hit the casino. But this isn't just any casino. It's the Cravings Casino. The stakes are high, but my first friend just dropped a royal flush at the poker table. Her prize, not plastic poker chips, but potato chips. Any kind, any flavor. Barbecue, salt and vinegar, sour cream and onion, original. My other friend and I are over pressing our luck on the slot machines. Before long, triple cherries. But my prize? No, it's not coins. Waitresses surround me with slices of cherry pie further than the eye can see. Suddenly, my friend hits 777s, and the pitmaster arrives with a group voucher for 7-course meal cooked by world-renowned chef Gordon Ramsay. The evening's running down, and we think our luck's run dry, but then my last friend hits 24 black on the roulette table. She doesn't walk away with chips, though. She walks away with a 24-piece McNugget and ample sauce for dipping, ranch, honey mustard, barbecue. It was a successful night over at the Cravings Casino. So I have to end by saying I'm not much of a gambler, but if casinos were anything like this, I sure would be. Thanks again, guys. Looking forward to the next episode as always.
Abby from Warwick, Rhode Island is a sorry for the wait Hall of Famer.
And like, a certified fucking G.
She is a first ballot listener Hall of Famer. Bravo,
dude,
Abby.
My mind is just so blown right now. We need to take a second to unpack this.
So many layers. Tons.
First of all, storytelling ability, like 10 out of 10.
A+, top marks.
Oh my gosh. But so the casino, right? I'm with you. I'm not much of a gambler myself. I would live in this casino until the day I die.
I am a gambler, and I have already bought a penthouse condo in this casino. This place, the grandiose, you know what I mean? Can you imagine just the excitement of probably winning food might feel just as good as winning actual currency.
It would be better.
I love the idea of pit bosses coming out with just cases of potato chips, but neatly lined up in perfect formation. That's a tough thing about some potato chips. Some are too small, some are way too big. Imagine completely uniformed, consistent, different flavored potato chips.
That's why I'm thinking like Pringles. Like Pringles have a very good consistency.
Yes, absolutely. But like the slot machines, I love your rewards being able to be linked to the
cherry with the cherry pie,
the cherries, the sevens, the blackjack. This casino would, I mean, you want to talk about a multi-billion-dollar idea? Yes. I also love the idea of a 7-course cooked meal from Gordon Ramsay.
Yeah, that's definitely worth the jackpot.
But he has to do it with tape over his mouth. I really don't want to hear that dude talk to me, because you know that dude's just going to be like, hitting course 4 a little hard, aren't you there, Seth? And I'm going to be, hey, Gordon. Shove it. You're in my house now.
Yeah, I have no desire to ever have a conversation with Gordon Ramsay. That man terrifies me.
Yeah, unless he's listening right now, which, Gordon, please, come on.
Please.
Come on. We're joking. But Abby, That was flawless.
That was 10 out of 10.
So happy.
Wow, put us to shame.
And that's another craving of the week, folks. So, of course, if you want to be cool like Abby, leave us a voicemail. The number will be in our show notes and at the end of this episode. And as always, our emails are always open. SFTWSubmissions@gmail.com.
But our voicemail box is more open.
Yeah, that is very open. It's extremely open. But we're going to head into our next segment, and we're bringing it back. It's time for Hey Big Guys.
Hey, big guys.
Hey, big guys. So this Hey Big Guys comes
Actually, I prefer Hey Extra Medium guys.
Hey, extra medium guys. So this Hey Big Guys comes to us from somebody very near and dear to my heart. You know, this comes from my cousin Pete out in Michigan.
Pete?
What up, Pete? Thank you, Pete. Really appreciate that. And granted, he didn't start this one with Hey Big Guys. He did start it with Hey Setho. And I was like, you know what?
That's close enough.
Yeah, that is close enough. But he did pose a very good Hey Big Guys. It's not really necessarily an advice thing, but it's something that we felt like needed to be answered. Pete says, if you guys haven't thought about it already, you should do a section about what you do if you lost your sense of smell/taste and how that would change your eating habits. Me personally, I feel like if I lost my sense of taste, then I'd no longer be motivated to eat anything that wasn't healthy and would become ultra utilitarian. All science, no flavor. But I don't know. Maybe not everybody is a robot. Discuss amongst yourselves. Yourselves. And that's much love, Cousin Pete. Thanks, Pete. Love you. This is a very, very good question. And I think that this is a question that's constantly asked amongst big people. I think we've done rounds of this in our past.
100%. Sure. Full disclaimer here too. I have thought about this quite a bit because there was a point earlier this year, pre-COVID, where I'd kind of like realized I'd lost my sense of smell a lot.
Yeah, this was like
for a completely different like medical reason that's now been taken care of. Yeah, so I was thinking about this a lot where for a while like my sense of smell was weaker and my sense of taste was weaker because, you know,
right,
connected. And I was really upset because I was like, I'm not enjoying food as much as I used to. But I realized it didn't stop me from eating it.
Yeah, true.
I still ate it.
It was just
now that I can taste better, it's definitely a lot better to eat food again.
I do wonder, like, part of me thinks that I would become ultra utilitarian. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I think that I would probably run this route, but there are so many benefits that I think people aren't thinking of if you lose your sense of taste or smell. Imagine getting to remove yourself from the entire debate of, like, where do you want to get food from?
Oh, my God.
This is, like, such a big relationship-y kind of thing of, like, where do you want to go eat? You pick a place.
I literally don't care.
Yeah, exactly. I don't care. Imagine being able to just pull out this card and be like, guess what? It doesn't make any difference to me. Pick a goddamn place.
Now, do you think that, like, so for me, if I can't taste at all and I can't smell at all, then suddenly, like, what food I eat comes down to texture, right?
True.
So now I'm thinking of, like, what kinds of foods have, like, a really good, like, pleasing texture,
right? Like,
to have.
Are you going crunchy? Are you going creamy? Are you going...
Well, I'm thinking, like, mousse. Mousse has, like, a really nice texture.
Yeah, very fluffy.
Right? Also, figs.
Ooh,
I don't really eat figs much because, like, the taste isn't, like, anything to write home about. But, like, the texture, you got, like, the little skin on the outside with, like, the gooey inside. Like, I feel like that could be a... That could be a winner.
Here's a curveball, too. Now, if you lose your sense of taste and smell, but let's focus on taste. Does spice come into factor anymore? Like spicy? The feeling of spiciness in your mouth hole.
I think so, because I don't know if, I don't know.
I
honestly have zero scientific, like, facts behind this, but to me...
Could you sit down on Hot Ones and, like, just run through the gauntlet and not break a sweat?
To me, there's, like, there's something that's more than just straight up taste with spicy foods. Like, I feel like it does genuinely, like, make your mouth hotter.
Right. Like yeah, right?
Right. Like, you got to feel the spice. Is there someone who has absolutely, like, no sense of taste? Like, we need your input here.
we need one of our listeners.
Can you taste the spice?
We need one of our listeners that listening to a podcast where we talk about food so much who has no taste to really give us their take. You know,
if they have no taste, then they're listening to the wrong podcast.
I'd probably get so careless if I lost my sense of smell or taste, though. Like, I'd probably just, like, start, like, eating shit that isn't even meant to be food. You know what I mean?
That's
like,
true. You could just, like, eat paper
right,
and, like, freak people out.
Exactly. It'd just be, or, like, I don't know, just stuff that's not going to hurt you, but, like, isn't going to help you whatsoever. Like, there's got to be shit that's just, like, it's technically edible, but nobody's like, well, no, why would you eat that? But if it fills the space in your stomach, I would get
You're a lot more like a TikTok guy than me. Wasn't there like a TikTok challenge recently, like maybe a few months ago, that was like people going to the drive-thru and like eating the receipt or something like that?
Oh, I don't remember that.
I don't know. Maybe I'm making that up.
Psychopaths. That's
Please don't take that and make it a thing.
You know what I would never trust again, though? I'd never trust any milk I ever drank ever again. So milk is the ultimate food of like, does it smell okay? All right, take a little taste. Does it taste sour? And then like, if it passes the bare minimum of that test for humans, they're like, okay, I guess it's still good. No milk I could ever trust.
Well,
ever
I don't know.
Again.
Unless you're a monster and eating it straight out of the carton, you'd normally pour it into a glass first, right?
Yeah, well,
wouldn't you see like the chunkiness?
Yeah, but if it's not chunked yet. I mean, most milk that's gone bad isn't necessarily chunked yet. Like normally you just like take the lid off, you smell it first, and like usually
I'm probably drinking some bad milk.
Like for me, like the smell is always the indicator of milk. Like if you pull the top off and then you're just like, ooh, like no, even if it's a little bit, I'm like, but if you lost your sense of, I'd have to completely cut out any kind of milk. Forever.
It sounds terrible. Thanks for putting us in that position, Pete.
So I mean, really, I'm interested to see what other people would do, because would it make us healthier? I do think so, and I do think it would.
Absolutely, because I feel like when you get no pleasure out of it, you find something else to replace that binge eating in your life.
Right,
you know? Now suddenly you're like doing something else. You're drinking.
Yeah, like there's no like, and honestly, like you'd save so much money.
Yeah,
you'd be like a wealthy kind of person, not really having to worry about it. You would just go buy.
Honestly, though, it could backfire, because like there are people who just like when they don't feel hunger at all, like it's almost like if you don't want to eat because you don't have any sense of taste, like what is it like to feel hunger? Like, do you still like go eat something just to make yourself feel better? Is it possible that like you're not eating anything like appropriate, like nutrition wise for yourself? So you're like somehow not getting what you need.
Yeah. The amount of mental health, professional help you're going to have to spend money on to just kind of sort this out in your brain, because this would completely like put your life sideways.
You wouldn't be able to relate to anybody.
Yeah,
either.
exactly.
Like, oh, what's your favorite food? I don't have one.
Right, exactly. It's the void. My favorite food is the void. but thanks, Pete.
Thanks, Pete.
So that's another hey big guys. But you know what? We're moving right along, and we're really excited for this one. What's the title of this episode?
Selfie Esteem.
Selfie Esteem. We keep coming at you with the creative title, folks. You know, I mean, who knows when the day is going to come when we're just like, we've used it all.
I think 50% of our writing process is like coming up with what we're going to do, and the other 50% is coming up with the title of the episode.
Yeah, I think we workshop the title for usually the longest amount of time before, like the segments, we normally pick the segment, and then we're just kind of bouncing back and forth like some weird ass tennis match on what we think the title could be.
We always start off with one that's just kind of like, yeah, we'll save that just in case.
Yeah, the placeholder has never actually been the title, but this episode is all about just the nature of photos, the nature of taking pictures, whether you're on a weight loss journey, whether you haven't even started your weight loss journey, or you're at the end. There's very different phases of this.
I will say that as a big person, I hate pictures.
Yeah, same.
I never really liked having pictures of myself. My mom, who's struggled with weight for her entire life, has never been a picture person either.
Right.
I feel like it's a very common thing, because when you're seeing pictures of yourself, you're more critical of your body than anybody else.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you see a picture of yourself and you're immediately like looking at like, I don't know, I zero in on like the parts of my body I don't like.
Right.
And I feel like everybody has that for themselves. So like for me, first place my eye goes is to my breast area.
Yeah.
And I go, do I look like I have big ass man titties?
Yeah. And you say that out loud to yourself. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. I look to see how many chins I have in that photo. Yes,
absolutely. That's a huge one. For me, like I think too, growing up, like every single photo that was taken, I always immediately would find something wrong with. And then I like come hell or high water, I would break down every wall possible to get it deleted.
Oh yes, like, that was a big thing. I would overreact and like force people to delete even like the most minor photo of me just because like, no, I don't look good.
I honestly think that between us two, there are over like 2,000 photos that are lost and gone into the ether because we've made sure that they've been deleted 5 seconds after their inception. And like another thing for us too, and I don't know if you ever did this like growing up, but like whenever I was like at an event, whether it's a family event or like a function or something like a dance or anything, I clocked every person with a camera in the room. Like parents at like school events, like walking around taking pictures. I had an eye. I was like MI6, dude. Like I had every camera plotted out and I made sure to avoid everything that I could.
See, I didn't have it that set out, but I did develop my own kind of coping mechanism where I would voluntarily go into photos where it's like group photos, and then I would stand behind people.
Yeah, good. So only your head shows. And then, that's a trademark move.
And it was like, okay, get it out of the way now so people can't be like, oh, like take a picture. You haven't taken any pictures yet. I could be like, yes, I have. I've been in like 4 or 5 pictures. You have all the pictures I need.
You pull out the wallet with like the photos, just saying, see, like, this is the evidence.
And when people want to do like just like, oh, just you and me photo, like it's like, okay, why don't you stand in front and I'll stand behind you? And
you know what was always the word? I'll never forget this. Okay, so in high school, right?
Angle yourself.
So like sophomore year, right? We had this thing called the ring dance. Okay, and it was usually like when like kids would get their class rings, because you get your class ring as a sophomore where I went to high school. Don't ask me why. Who knows? Do I still have it? I don't think so. And so I remember like we're at the ring dance, and there was this girl that I had a huge crush on at the time, right? Huge crush on, and she was like, I really want to take a picture together. And I'm like, yeah, sure, because like you're not going to say no to the girl you have a crush on. And like I'm a high school sophomore, I'm fat, and I'm like my facial hair is patchy. Like any win I can get, I can get. We take this photo, right? And she immediately goes to look at it. Barry, I tell you, I look like Casper the Ghost's fucked up cousin. Like I am pale, I am fat, I am red. It is the worst, one of the worst photos of all time.
Was it deleted?
She looks gorgeous. Even I was just like,
oh, that's the worst.
It's the worst.
Because then you're like,
what do I do?
You're like, please delete this. I don't want anybody to ever see this. But then they're like, no, but this is such a great photo of me.
Exactly. She looked flawless, even I'm looking at the picture in real time and I'm like, damn, that's a good photo of you.
I guess especially standing next to you.
And so like, yeah, exactly. She looked even better. And I was like, and she's showing me the photo and she's like, I think that this is a great photo of us. And I'm trying to hold it together to be like, are we looking at the same goddamn photo, my girl? Like, what do we do here? And I had to eat it. And it did end up on Facebook. I don't know if it's still there. I'll have to go find it.
I need to see this.
It is like quite possibly. I was just so mortified that stuck with me the rest of the night. No, I made sure to avoid every photo the rest of the night. I think that might be one of the only photos of me of that night.
That's funny.
Yeah.
It's kind of interesting though, because like for all the years that we went at camp, I would take more photos at camp for sure.
Oh yeah.
And at camp, like that was the only time when I had my Instagram.
Right.
That was the only time I ever actually like took pictures and uploaded pictures like semi-regularly, was because it was kind of like, okay, you're in fat camp and suddenly your self-esteem improves because you're not surrounded by like normal. Well,
right. Exactly.
I hate to say not surrounded by normal looking people, but I would say like you're surrounded by a larger median.
Right. A more relatable collective, I think, is like probably the best way to put it, because I mean at camp I loved having like an entire album at the end of the summer.
Oh yeah.
Because that was like a treasure chest of memories too. And like, I think that since we were all in camp at the same time, kind of doing our thing, nobody was ever really thinking about like the comparison aspect of our photos, at least for us as dudes.
I mean, even when you did though, like when everyone's fat, no one's fat.
Right. Exactly. And that was the big thing for us. And honestly, camp was always a good place to constantly be taking photos because you were able to see the changes.
Yeah.
Like in real time, like especially if you tried. Like, or sometimes if you were like us, maybe if we gained weight at the end of summer, to be like, oh man,
crazy how that happened.
Crazy how I look better in week 1. But I do think that there's an aspect of when we started to lose weight. Like, I don't know about you now, but like I'm starting to like see pictures of us like being taken now. Like pictures that like either like I've taken in the apartment, like every now and again, like the Instagram story videos we put up.
Yeah.
And we're starting to realize like, oh shit, like we can start jumping into photos for real right now.
It's funny because there are, I think, like 2 or 3 pictures that I've actually taken since, I guess, having lost all this weight.
Right.
And I'm still not in a place where like I think of like, oh, I want to take a picture, just because I've gone so many years of not liking pictures.
Yeah, it's not going to like form in you. Yeah.
Right. But the couple times that like you've taken a picture of me,
yeah,
I look at the picture and it has taken a couple of times for me to go like, wow, I don't even, I guess this is almost going to morph into a conversation about body dysmorphia. Yeah. But like, I feel like when I think of myself and I can acknowledge in my head, like I've lost 100 pounds, I look very different and I look better.
Right.
Right. But like seeing myself in the mirror every day, I don't notice it as much as I do when I see the picture of me. And I've seen these pictures of me and I go like, oh, wow, actually, wait, what?
And then you're like, oh,
I look like that?
You're like, that's me? That's this guy?
Is there a filter there?
Yeah.
No? This isn't like skinify myself or something?
It's pretty wild. Like, I remember even with the wedding, like seeing pictures after the wedding, and I was just like, damn. Like, and it's almost like you don't want to be conceited by any means, and you don't want to be self-absorbed.
I want to be conceited. I've gone so long having such low self-esteem. I want to be conceited.
You're ready to be like, look at me. but there is a part of you that's almost just like, holy shit. Like that's really me, and like it is something really cool to see, but like this, it's not obviously something we want to obsess over, but for going so long and growing up so many years of being like, I don't want any photos of me whatsoever. And granted, it'd be nice to have a few more before pictures that like
I was gonna say we have like very few before
Right,
pictures that are
exactly.
actually like right as we started this.
Yeah, so
I think the closest thing I have to like real before pictures are just like any pictures of me over the last few years where I've been around the same weight.
And I have a few from work when like my coworkers were like, we want to take a photo every day in the same spot. And then we went into quarantine and that kind of like put the axe on that. But I'll never forget like some of these times growing up where people would even be in group photos. And sometimes I would even steer clear of the group photo. But like you would see people constantly taking selfies, constantly putting stuff up on their Instagram. Like, I think at one point I went like 2 straight years without posting anything on my Instagram because I was like, you know what? We're in hiding. Like, you don't deserve it yet.
And I would go out of my way to try to take, like, if I did want to post something on Instagram, I would make sure it's a picture of something that didn't have me in it.
Right, exactly. Yeah, you'd go meme before you'd go.
Or, like, landscape photo of,
right.
like...
Yeah, I'm camp. Like, always like this is my place and this is where I'm at. But we are very hard on ourselves when it comes to pictures because we like to overanalyze literally everything that's put into a picture that it can really it runs counter to the productivity of a weight loss journey.
Well, but I also feel like it's a thing that like, I mean, everybody kind of feels that way too, to an extent where like everyone's their own worst critic. And, you know, I think that that's why you see so much of like people photoshopping their pictures,
right? Filtering
filters and all this stuff is because like everybody wants to do what they can to make their picture look less real and more perfect.
Yeah.
And you know, I definitely understand that because that's one way of coping with it. I cope with it by not taking pictures.
Right. Yeah. We cope with it by getting the hell out of there.
Yeah. So it's all up to you. How do you want to cope with your own self-esteem issues?
But I also think that, I mean, you and I are very fortunate to be able to deal with this problem through the lens of being dudes. Like, you know what I mean? I think that this is
it's definitely much worse for women out there.
Even more volatile for women. I remember learning, I mean, girls at camp were very open and upfront with us about it. Like, they would teach us the angles that they would use. I learned all of my photo advice from girls at camp who were like, you never take a photo straight on, you get an aerial view. And I'm like, why the aerial view? And they're like, looking down's always better. And I'm like, okay, you said so.
It's funny because I used to just take them from the bottom view, like bottom looking up, which is like really bad.
It's just Chin City. But I remember learning some of these things, like if you're standing next to people, like you want to try and put yourself just a little bit behind them and kind of tuck yourself,
like angle yourself,
kind of tuck yourself inward. And I remember
you want to jut your chin out a little bit to give yourself like a more defined chin line.
You
want
to jut your chin out and down so that like you can kind of like have a little more of a and I remember hearing these things, thinking it was a bit, and I'm like, what are we talking about? And then all of a sudden I like see it in action. I'm like, damn. This photo of me when I do these things does look better because it's the things that we're trying to do to make ourselves be part of what is, quote, the norm.
Honestly, girls at Fat Camp, like telling us all of the different tricks of like how to, you know, make your pictures look better. I feel like I was the image of like that meme of that woman who just has like all that math around her face. Like she's like confused, trying to work it all out. Like,
yeah, like try like how to solve this equation.
You should post a meme about that because I feel like it will look funnier than it sounded.
Yeah. In audio, describing.
That's going to be our next podcast, our spin-off podcast, is just describing memes.
It's just going to be memes and words. Memes.
So, like, you have a galaxy
memes
brain,
with
right?
Friends.
It's just take all the humor out of your memes.
Fuck me running, dude. That's so good. Memes with Friends. It's just audio res talking about memes. Be on the lookout, folks. 2021. But I just to circle it back, we're going off the rails as we normally do, but there's something that I think really it does haunt us about photos, because I don't know about you and I don't know about me either. Do you think you'll ever break through that like second guessing or that hesitation when it comes to a camera coming out and saying, let's get a photo?
I feel like I'll probably be a lot less hesitant to, like, I would not, like, if somebody came over with a camera and was like, let's take a picture, I wouldn't say no anymore.
Right.
It would be like a yes, and I would definitely still try to do all of those tips and tricks. Because,
yeah, no, I would too.
Why would you not?
Yeah.
I still, like, don't think that anytime soon I'll be able to get into the habit of, like, oh, you know what? I think I'm looking cute today. I want to take a selfie.
Right.
Like, that's, like, it's just not me, and it's not, like, something that I see being me anytime soon.
Yeah. You know what's funny, though, is that there is something about when you know you have a home run hitting photo and you immediately go to your dating profile and you're like, this is going to be the one. Like, this is a home run hit. And then, you know what? You're just still swiping. But
honestly, it's funny. I don't even have enough photos to, like, fill up a dating profile, like, with post weight loss me.
Well, people are asking. I mean, people do ask. They're like, when are we going to see before and afters? When are we going to see before and afters? And I'm like,
soon.
It's tough because here's the thing about before and afters, right? Like,
first of all, I don't really have a genuine before photo like you do. You have your work ones.
Oh, we have a few that we can think of, though.
Oh, there are definitely ones from before the weight loss, but not like right when we
when you started.
And it's funny because I had done that on purpose. Back when we had first started our weight loss, we hadn't like had this idea of like doing the show or anything like that.
Yeah, not yet, at least.
This wasn't like our plan yet. And so you told me about your before photos.
Right,
and I was
with
like,
my coworkers.
That's cool. I'm not going to do that because
no.
Well, I think like my justification for it was like, I don't have Instagram, so who's going to want to see it anyway?
Right.
But I think like the reality is that when I had first started, it was really more of like, yeah, I'm going to try to lose weight.
Yeah.
And I didn't really believe in myself. Like, I didn't think that it was actually going to happen. I honestly didn't really think that I was going to actually stick with it until after I had like gotten through my 30-pound plateau.
Right. Once you broke through there.
But like at the beginning, I was like, I'm going to do this because I'm, I should, and Seth's doing it, so I should do it too. And, it's the right thing to do for myself. But I didn't like think that I was actually going to get to a point where I needed an after picture. So I didn't do the before picture because I knew it would bum me out if I failed.
Yeah, that's true. That is true. That's very funny. It's a good way to look at it in the sense of like you're almost giving yourself insurance of like it never happened.
But now I like look through and I'm like, I need before picture. Where do I find before picture? And I can find a few like really fat pictures of me,
right?
Which is really the best that you're gonna get.
And people are asking. People do ask every now and again. And honestly, it's getting more and more frequent of like when are you guys gonna put those up? And I'm a little hesitant to give like a definitive answer too because before and after also has that weird signifying like it's done. Yeah, exactly. Like here's point A, here's point B.
Maybe okay. How about we don't call it before and after? We call it then and now.
Yeah,
and
I like that.
We can do that and not like we could maybe even update it like year by year.
Royal decree. Before and after photos are no longer before and after. They are now officially then and nows.
And maybe we do then and now. Okay, we're just workshopping this out loud.
Yeah.
Maybe we do it as like a new year thing, like new year, new me. Like here was us last year and here was us this year.
Maybe that's how we do it.
Like wrap up the end of the year.
Because that
like
puts a lot of pressure.
Then and now.
And it eliminates a lot of the pressure of like that I have to be done by my after picture because
you're never done.
Right, you're never done. And when we go to take that after photo, that's just that moment in time because if we're trying to do this the way we want,
now photo.
Well, that's what I meant. But that's that moment in time, and we're still trying to elongate this process the way that we want to. In which that not necessarily saying like we're always trying to look bad. Like there are some times where we're just going to be happy with where we're at, which is a wild concept. Like I don't know what that looks like
or feels. Happy with where you're at.
Right, like being like, like I don't like physically. I don't need to get to this point. Like I'm at the point like the maintenance game. That's crazy to me. It's crazy to me.
I feel like that spot scares me more than like being fat because then when you're there, I mean you've kind of been there before.
Yeah,
like the pressure of
it was terrifying.
Don't put it back on. Like I'm a little scared when that like starts to kind of hit.
And that's going to be something that we're going to have to cover. But you know what? We're going to be covering it together. And there's no better way to do it. And guess who's going to hear it? All of these listeners.
Yeah.
Woo! But that's Selfie Esteem, folks. We're going to wrap that up. I think that was good to get through. I honestly feel a lot better about that. I didn't realize how much pent-up shit I had regarding
I know, me
photos.
too. I didn't really think of it either. I was just like, yeah, I don't like photos.
This is a therapeutic podcast, folks.
So tell us, like, how do you guys feel about photos? Like,
yeah.
Do you relate to our experiences or do you have experiences that are totally different?
And I'm interested to see the other side of the spectrum, too, of people who might not have dealt with weight issues but are still just terrified of photos because I think that this isn't something that just touches the weight loss space. I think it's everywhere and everyone.
Absolutely.
And so we are gonna finish light, though. We're gonna finish light. Are we gonna finish light? No.
I think it's a little heavier.
We're gonna finish heavy
because we're going to Fat Camp Follies.
We're bringing back the Cat Camp Follies.
Man, we just need to we need to slow our roll here because we are both stumbling.
So many people are gonna be like, "Why didn't you just edit this and re-record it?" I'm gonna be like, "No, we're just running." But we're going back to the Fat Camp Follies, and this one is titled "The
Runaways."
Yes. It's the Runaways, and we kind of balked a little bit at this one, but you know what? We figured it's worth giving a couple stories about some of the Runaways. But
now, disclaimer here,
right? I think we have to preface this a little bit
because I feel like we could easily talk about this, and people could come away with this idea of like, wow, that's like kids are running away, like. Oh no.
Right, like what does that say about the place? And no.
So let's just like start off with a quick disclaimer that like the kinds of kids who like wanted to run away, they're kids.
Right.
A lot of the times it was like their parents kind of forced them to go to camp against their will. Sometimes they went to Fat Camp by surprise, thinking it's like a sports camp.
Yeah, that's a tough one.
And then they go way in and all the other kids are like, so why are you at Fat Camp?
Yeah, and then they'd be like, huh? I just thought this was a coincidence.
So I feel like a lot of the stuff behind these kids running away wasn't like the fault of the camp. And honestly, it usually happened within a day or two of them getting there.
Right. So it was never even enough for camp to like put the impression on kids. There are some kids, okay, right? Like just for the overall purpose of the Runaways, there are some kids that walk into camp that just have their shit together in terms of an escape plan. There are Danny Ocean, like Ocean's 19 pounds. Like it is, they are ready. They are fired up, ready to go out of there.
Yeah. And honestly, like some of these kids, like they're ingenious. They just sit there quietly while everybody's doing all these get to know you things, you know, and all they're doing is they're absorbing and they're just like, they're seeing and they're thinking and they're plotting and they're planning.
Casing the joint.
And it's like, to the point where occasionally it's almost impressive.
Honestly, there has not been a runaway story that I haven't been at least kind of been like, you know what? That's a good play. Like you didn't make a bad play. I remember when I was a junior counselor, when we were junior counselors together, and I couldn't remember if you were at orientation by this point, right?
Which one?
So this one specifically was one night it was during pre-camp, right?
Yeah.
And we're all just kind of doing our thing, like going about our days, and it was during pre-camp, but we had gotten there for regular camp orientation, so there were some kids there. And then all of a sudden, like we woke up, went to the like bonfire pit, and I wasn't even really involved in this one. And they had talked about how this kid they thought he had run away. They thought that he had just completely dipped out, and this kid was missing for like 3-4 hours, and counselors were out everywhere looking for this kid, trying to find him. And I remember hearing some of the commotion, but being like, I'm just kind of doing my thing. It's orientation.
Right.
The pre-camp counselors were on it. And so all I remember is the next morning getting there, and this one dude was like, we looked for this kid for 4 hours. And he was laying under a bunk. This kid removed one of the grates below the foundation of the bunk and then put it back over and then just laid there. Like, well, you gonna live there, my guy?
And it's funny you say that because I don't remember that happening that year. But didn't that same thing happen a few years later when you were at pre-camp during the rain?
Yes, exactly.
Like on a very rainy night
during the rain, hiding under a bunk. This happened like. The funny thing about like some of the Runaways is that they never really ran away.
They just kind of figured they'd want us to think they ran away.
Look, don't get me wrong. I understand they're kids, and this is a tough age to be like sent away to summer camp, especially if you were so conditioned to be in your house. However, if you're gonna split, and you're not like if you don't like where you're at, you'd rather be warm in a dry bunk than hiding under a bunk all muddy and rainy.
Well, okay, here's probably the kid logic there is that they aren't trying to like run away, you know, because like you're scared of like the outside world.
True.
Because like who do they know in the rural mountains of
in
Pennsylvania?
The sticks of Pennsylvania,
like,
yeah.
Where are they gonna go? But they also at the same time are like, I don't want anybody to find me or talk to me. I just want to be alone and be miserable.
Right.
And hey, you know, if you're trying to be miserable, being in the cold, wet mud is probably pretty miserable for you. So mission accomplished.
We had a kid one year who just split and made it all the way down the road, right? He makes it down the road and gets to this house. I can't help
the first house down the road.
The first house down the road when you leave camp, folks. You come out of camp, you take a left. There's the first house you see right down the road. And this kid just Mission Impossibles himself like right out of the camp, People are looking for him. People are kind of like, oh, like, where is he? Where is he? And then he gets to this house and knocks on the door. Somebody answers, and he's like, can I use your phone to call my parents? And lo and behold, the guy is a maintenance man who works at camp.
That was like, honestly, that was the funniest thing, because that's why I feel like the whole idea of running away, like, it was kind of hard to like do successfully, because if you did want to go to like the first house you find, which is I think the natural instinct when you're a kid, you're like, I don't want to be like going a mile away. I want to just get to a house, call somebody. But the entire street was just people who worked for the camp.
Right. And I'll never forget the maintenance guy was like, yeah, just give me 1 sec. I just have to make a call. And then immediately called his bosses up. He called our bosses up at camp. I was like, yeah, hey, I think I got
a kid here.
I think I got one of yours. Because that's like, but you're in the mountains. Where are you going to go?
You want to know, though, the most successful runaway story of all time?
I do need it.
Honestly, I don't even know if you were here for this one. This might have been one of the last years.
I think this was summer 2018.
I think so, too. This was one of the older campers. This was I think she was like 18 years old. Jeez. Like, she was an adult in the young adult program, I think.
Yeah.
And she ended up like walking down the street. She ended up getting an Uber.
Nice.
And going to a hotel that was like 5 miles away, but it was like the closest like it wasn't a hotel, it was a motel.
Yeah, true.
And so she ended up getting all the way over there, and so people are looking for her. She makes it all the way there, calls her parents, and they're the ones who told the camp where she was.
It's just such a weird look to get a call, and they're all looking for this kid, and they're like, it's the parents. Nobody say anything. And then they're like, why is our daughter in a queen suite at a motel?
It's kind of generous of you to say that there's a suite there.
Yeah, no, it's the Poconos, so it's a honeymoon suite where it's a heart-shaped bed that rotates 360 degrees. But I do think that's it. That's another factor of this whole thing, right? Uber existing, like, if I ever wanted to,
it changes the game.
Having the technology is just like fueling potential runaways to just be like, I just got to get to where I have decent service and I can pull my phone out of my secret hiding spot in my Lululemon pants, and then I just need to call an Uber, and some dude in a Toyota RAV4 is going to take me wherever I want to go.
Now, but my favorite runaway story was another one of these stories that was not a runaway story. But this was my first runaway story.
Yes, this is one that you and I shared together as campers.
This is our my first summer, your second summer. And these 3 guys that were in our division, they have like their Sunday like
celebration, like camper of the week, counselor of the week, speeches about friendship. That's what celebration was, and it was at the end of every week.
So we all get there, we go into the rec hall, we're listening to the celebration. And at some point, it becomes apparent to the counselors and to the group leader that we have 3 kids missing in our group.
And they've been missing for this entire activity.
The entire activity. I think you were pulled out of there. I was kind of like left alone because I didn't know anybody at this point.
Right.
That was just, so why don't you take it away?
So I remember being pulled out of the rec hall, and a few of us, and they were like, hey, where are these 3? And we were like, we don't know, man. Like, honestly, truly, I thought everyone was there. Like, it's not like I like went in and didn't clock everybody in the division. I was just like, oh man, I wonder if they're skipping. Because, like, look,
they weren't the most like memorable people.
They weren't. But also, like, if you know what, like,
there were 30 of us.
And also, snitches get stitches, dude. Like, if somebody's trying to skip evening activity, I get it. Like, as a camper, I skipped a few evening activities.
Yeah, no harm, no foul.
I just needed to take a little nap, and I was just like, you know what? Maybe they're just chilling at the bunk, and if they get away with it, Godspeed, my dudes. And all of a sudden, this turned on a dime so quick. Whenever I'll never forget the 2 counselors who were talking to me about it, and I was just like, look, they're probably just in the bunk sleep. And I see their faces just kind of droop down, and I just go, oh, no, this isn't that.
Oh.
You really don't know where they are.
And then you're the camper. Are you like laughing?
I'm dying because I'm just like, well, because you don't take the scenario as seriously as a kid, because you just think that their kids be like,
you think everybody's going to be okay because everybody's okay.
Because I think of myself in that situation. I'm like, yeah, I'm just probably screwing around and like I'm off somewhere else. But when you're a person in charge of kids, as I did learn as a counselor, holy shitballs, are you thinking that these kids are dead and that you're going to be on the hook for it?
Yeah.
And so it turned into like a 13-kid participated effort manhunt of just.
I was not involved.
We were on golf carts. We were racing down every square inch of camp looking for these kids, calling out to them. And then all of a sudden, the camp director at the time, he was like, okay, look, I'm going to be honest here. Does anybody have a phone on them that has their numbers and can call them? We weren't supposed to have our phones.
At all.
And this is a very tough conundrum here because we're all sitting there being like, well, of course we all have our phones. Yeah. But this is the camp director basically saying, like, look, like, we need to find these kids. Does anyone have a phone and can call them? And I'm telling you.
You don't want to self-snitch, but you're also like, oh, if they're dying, I should probably, like.
And I remember my phone being in my pocket, and I'm just like, no. I know I know it sounds so bad, but no, I don't have it. And so one of our co-campers, Steve, at the time, he was the brave soul that goes, you know what? Yeah, I've got my phone on me. He pulled out his BlackBerry and he tries to call them.
The age of the BlackBerry.
The BBM, baby.
I miss BlackBerries.
Yeah, bring BlackBerries back.
Honestly, I would definitely upgrade to a BlackBerry.
So he pulls out his BlackBerry and he tries calling them. Of course, they're not going to answer. That was a pretty foolish plan from the beginning. Like, if they're running away, they're not going to be like, hey, guess how far we are, and here's our pinned location, numbnuts. Like, so he pulls out the phone calls, and all of a sudden, like we're all just sitting there, no answer on the phone. And then the camp director goes, all right, well, I really appreciate you trying. Gonna need to take your phone, obviously. And I'll never forget Steve just being like, what in the ever-loving hell? Like, I fell on the sword here. And I remember.
No good deed goes unpunished.
I'm sitting on the back of the golf cart, and I remember turning to the person next to me and just going, I made the right move. I absolutely made the right move. So then the night keeps going, and these kids, we were driving past our big fields, right? Like yelling out for them. And lo and behold, they knew we were obviously like running around. They didn't really leave camp. They were just laying down in the fields, like
in the tall grass.
In the tall grass, just so that they couldn't be seen. And they really,
right on the edge of the forest, like the tree line.
And then the story just ends so anticlimactically because they just kind of got bored. They all three of them.
They've seen the golf carts come and go, like searching the fields like 5 times. They just like they lay down so you can't see them. And then after like the 4th or 5th golf cart, they're like, yeah, we should probably.
They ended up going back to the bunk, just being like, yeah, like I guess like they couldn't. Where are you gonna go? And that's kind of the funny thing about some of the runaways is just like the furthest somebody ever made it to was a slack shit hotel on Route 611. You're not going to get to Paris. You're not going anywhere.
Not with that attitude.
Yeah, no, not with that attitude. Like if you were, so actually let's reverse engineer this. If you were trying to run away from camp.
Oh no.
What's your strat?
Should we even go there? This seems like it could be weaponizable. Yeah, let's go there.
Yeah, let's go there.
All right. So number one, I mean, I feel like it's actually kind of easy mode now if they've got like cell phones and they got Wi-Fi. Cause like, honestly, even if you just like, because nowadays, back then they had no phones at all. Nowadays, they're allowed to have their phones like
kept
for
in the
30
office.
minutes.
Yeah.
Like they can use them for 30 minutes and keep them at the office. You could order an Uber and schedule a time.
Yeah,
and then just like go meet them down there.
Yeah, that's very true. So I think probably I'd have to go the Uber route.
And if you're going to go Uber route and like, let's just assume your parents' credit card is linked to it.
Right.
Like, don't just stop at the hotel. At least make it to a different state.
Okay, no, see, now here's where
they're not going to cross state lines. Well, they might, but
here's where I'm going to.
I feel like when you cross a state line, they're not going to like. It's harder for them to find you.
Here's where I'm going to differ from you, though.
Okay.
If I'm trying to do some kind of heist runaway, I'm really not trying to run away from camp. Like if I have the mental capacity that
I wouldn't want to run away from camp either.
Well, right now, granted, but like even if I was miserable at camp and I was like, I need to get out of here, you have to think of the long game. Like if you run away and get caught, your parents are going to be pissed. Like you're probably going to be grounded afterwards. Like you're not getting I
assume that if we're going down this path, we've already said fuck it. I'm willing to take all these consequences.
Well, right. And so, but for me, like I can't just like send those by the wayside. Like I'm thinking I just learn how to like engineer this to my advantage of like set the Uber, schedule the time, very secluded location. You're trying to leave during a big all camp activity, And you know what? I'm just going to run out and go to Chili's and just have myself a nice getaway meal.
Oh my God. Actually, that's baller.
And then I'm going to tell the Uber like, hey, I will
here.
Buy your meal if you park this damn car and come eat with me. And then you're going to take me back to that exact same spot right at this time. And then you're just going out, grabbing a meal. You're back. And then the worst thing, you just skipped an activity. No one knows you went and had
hold
freaking crispy cheddar bites.
No, hold on.
Chili's.
I think we gotta have fun with this. If you're going to Chili's to do this, first of all, I think you're out of your mind if you think that like that goes like totally unnoticed. Like you definitely do get clocked as missing at some point because like other kids are either looking for you or the counselor in your cabin's looking for you. So they've clocked that you're missing.
Yeah.
You're coming back, you better be bringing like the to-go boxes. You come back,
you
walk
have to
right
lean
through
right
the
into
front
it.
gates with your Chili's to-go boxes.
It's just like,
Here are my leftovers.
allow me to reintroduce myself. just blaring your own theme song. And then, I mean, can they even be mad at you? I mean they can.
They can. Well, I know, I like to think that if the camp director saw this happen, he would just bring you into the office. He'd open up your to-go boxes, and then he'd just eat it right in front of you.
Yeah, right in front of you. Or it's almost like Reverse Breakfast Club, where like he just makes you eat it all in one sitting. He's like, you're going to down all of this now. I don't care if you're full. Smoke up, Johnny.
Ooh.
But honestly, that's another Fat Camp Follies we're going to, I feel like we can get in trouble for that one.
But yeah, just once again, like, it's not the camp's fault.
It's
like,
not. It's
because
not.
the thing is that, like, when these kids try to run away, like, 9 times out of 10, it's really the parents' fault.
Yeah,
like,
I would agree with that.
Fat Camp isn't for everybody, and the way that you're introduced to it is big.
Oh, that's
huge.
huge.
And if you don't want to be there, and not even just like you don't want to be there, if you are not open to being there, if you are going to fight every step of the way,
it was never for you to begin with.
Like it's not like anybody or any organization can like stop everybody, like especially they're there for 24/7.
Right.
Like there's always going to be the opportunity for them to try some shit like that.
Especially out of 500 kids. Like you have so many kids on camp, and honestly, like look, at the end of the day, like all these kids were always okay. Like everyone was always found like safe.
And the only one who actually made it off of like camp property was 18 years old.
Yeah, was 18 years old and like really kind of had and was driven. And so I do think that these are just part of the stories that like are part of the lore. Like it's part of the lore of
absolutely.
And some of these kids I know who have like kind of gotten and run away, they probably tell that story to everyone they know, like for years to come. Like I ran away from camp. Like I was a badass.
And honestly, the only one who really is a badass is the one who actually made it out.
Exactly. So that's another Fat Camp Follies, folks. We're gonna go into closing thoughts, and you know what? Another one down. Weather's getting colder. Thanksgiving's coming up.
It is.
I can't believe it. It's gonna be a weird holiday for everybody. I think it's gonna be a weird Thanksgiving for everybody. But we're gonna cover that next week with our little Thanksgiving episode. So that's gonna be fun. But
spooky.
Yeah. It's gonna have another new buzz phrase like spooky, and you know what? He's gonna workshop that, and we're gonna see how that goes.
Thankful sweets.
So, folks, we want to thank you for listening to another episode of Sorry for the Wait. We really appreciate it. If you want to write into us, SFTWSubmissions@gmail.com.
And make sure to follow us on every social media platform you have.
Every single one. And then after you've done that, leave us an awesome voicemail like Abby did. Abby, thank you so much. 774-855-9433.
And don't forget to give us a 5-star rating and a review on Apple Podcasts.
I know. We love those reviews. We love those ratings. Please help us take over the world. We really, really appreciate it. But you know what? Until next time, I'm Seth.
And I'm Strawbrizzle.
And remember, keep your friends close, keep your enemies closer, but keep your snacks the closest.